All right, so new leadership role, you've landed it, congratulations, but now what?
Now the real work begins, right?
Exactly, you're staring down those first 90 days, a period that can really make or break your success.
Yeah, the pressure's on. Everyone's watching. Expectations are high.
No pressure, right?
It's not just about hitting deadlines, though, is it?
It's about so much more.
It really is. It's about establishing your leadership style, navigating a new environment.
And of course, building trust with the team.
A team that's probably got its own very well-established ways of doing things already.
It's like walking a tightrope. You need to make an impact. Quickly show you're the right person for the job.
But you also don't want to rock the boat too much.
Right, and all while you're figuring out who the key players are and how the team really operates.
It's a classic leadership challenge for sure.
But luckily, we've got some pretty powerful tools to help navigate it.
Oh, absolutely.
We're going to be looking at Watkins's The First 90 Days. For sure, a classic for a reason.
And then we'll layer in the Ascertair DOIT model.
Which brings in that crucial human element.
Yes, exactly.
So Watkins first, I know it's a business staple,
Definitely.
but remind us, what are those core principles?
What makes this book so valuable, especially in this make-or-break period?
Yeah, why is it so essential?
Well, Watkins really nails the importance of situational awareness.
Right.
He emphasizes that you need to come in with your eyes wide open.
Like really understanding the landscape you're stepping into.
That's it. Where are the quick wins, hiding what potential risks are lurking beneath the surface?
So instead of charging ahead with your own agenda, you need to take a step back and assess the situation first.
You've got to get the lay of the land before you start planting flags, so to speak.
Okay. I like that analogy. And then once you've got a handle on the situation.
Watkins stresses the importance of setting priorities.
Okay.
You can't do everything at once, so you need to focus on the things that will make the biggest impact early on.
Those quick wins you were talking about.
Exactly. Those are crucial for building momentum and credibility.
It's about choosing your battles wisely, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
Focusing on a few key areas where you can demonstrate your competence.
And start building trust with the team.
But how do you actually choose those battles?
That's the million-dollar question.
Are there any specific strategies for identifying those quick wins?
That's where Watkins gets really practical. He suggests focusing on projects that have a visible impact.
Okay.
Things that are achievable within a relatively short time frame and align with the team's existing strengths.
So leverage what's already working well.
Yes, and make small but meaningful improvements that everyone can get behind.
Okay, that makes sense. So we've got situational awareness, we've got setting priorities.
And of course, no leadership strategy is complete without building relationships.
Of course.
Watkins emphasizes that you need to identify your key stakeholders.
The people who have influence and can help you achieve your goals.
Precisely. And it's not just about formal meetings either.
It's about making genuine connections.
Understanding their perspectives, building trust.
I can see how that ties back to that tightrope analogy.
Yeah.
You need to build those relationships so you have a safety net, so to speak, as you navigate this new terrain.
A good way to think about it.
But let's be honest, building trust takes time.
It really does, especially
Right.
when you're coming in as an outsider.
That's where I think the DOIT model comes in so beautifully. It complements Watkins' strategic framework
Yes.
with a more human-centered approach to change management.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Okay, I'm intrigued. So DOIT, for our listener who's never encountered this model before,
Sure.
give us the quick breakdown. What is it all about and how does it actually work?
DOIT stands for Discover, Observe, Ideate, and Transform.
Okay.
It's a cyclical process that guides you through each stage of change, but with a real emphasis on empathy and collaboration.
So it's not just about dictating change from the top down.
Not at all. The Discover phase is all about understanding the current situation, the team's dynamics.
And the underlying reasons for any challenges they might be facing.
That's right.
Sounds like some good old-fashioned listening is required there.
Absolutely essential. And then observe.
Okay.
This is where you really hone in on the team's strengths and potential roadblocks.
I see.
But it also involves some crucial self-reflection.
Oh, interesting.
How does your leadership style fit in?
Yeah.
Where might you need to adjust to be more effective in this specific environment?
So it's not just about observing the team, it's about holding up a mirror to yourself as well.
You got it.
All right, so we've discovered and observed.
What's next?
Ideate.
Yes, and this is where the magic of DOIT really shines.
Okay.
Instead of coming in with all the answers, you involve the team in developing the solutions.
Okay.
You brainstorm together, leverage their expertise, and come up with strategies that everyone feels invested in.
I love that idea of shared ownership. It's so much more empowering than just being told what to do.
Absolutely.
But how do you ensure that those ideas actually translate into action?
That's where the final phase transform comes in. You put the plan into motion, but you do it collaboratively, making sure everyone is on the same page.
And has the support they need to succeed.
Yeah.
And throughout this whole process, you're constantly observing, adjusting, learning together.
It's a continuous cycle of improvement.
Not just a one-time fix.
Yeah.
Okay, this is all sounding great in theory,
Yeah.
but I'm guessing our listeners thinking,
How do I make this happen?
yeah, how do I actually implement Watkins and DOIT in those crucial first 90 days?
That's where those in-house DOIT team workshops come in.
Oh, okay.
And why they're such a valuable resource, especially for leaders starting a new role.
And as an added bonus, these workshops often include the Assertier Change Management certification.
Yes, that's right.
Wait, hold on. Let's unpack that for a second. This certification,
Yeah.
what is it exactly?
Yeah.
And why should our listener care?
It's more than just a piece of paper.
Okay.
This certification demonstrates a genuine commitment to change management.
It equips individuals with the skills and knowledge to lead change, effectively increasing their value within the organization.
Exactly. And it signals to the team that the organization is invested in their growth and development.
Which can be a huge morale booster, especially during times of change.
Absolutely. So you're not just investing in the individual leader, you're investing in the whole team.
I'm sold on the certification.
Yeah.
Tell me more about these DOIT team workshops.
Yeah.
What makes them so special?
How can they help leaders like our listeners succeed in those first 90 days and beyond?
Well, the beauty of these workshops is that they're not just theoretical lectures.
Okay.
They're designed to be highly interactive.
Hands-on.
Yes,
Yeah.
think learning by doing, applying the principles of Watkins and DOIT to real-world projects and challenges that your team is facing right now.
So it's almost like a shared starting point for the entire team.
Yeah.
Everyone gets aligned on those key principles, clarifies their roles, and sets goals together.
Exactly. And because everyone is learning and applying these concepts together,
Right.
it creates a sense of unity and shared purpose, which is so essential for building a high-performing team, especially in those initial stages when everyone's still figuring each other out.
It's like having a common language and a roadmap to guide you through those first 90 days.
Okay, but let's be realistic. Not every challenge can be solved with a workshop.
True. But these workshops equip you with the tools and mindset to tackle those unexpected obstacles.
Right.
It's about turning everyday challenges into learning opportunities, embracing that observe element of DOIT, not just as a leader, but as a team.
Instead of getting bogged down by setbacks, you encourage the team to analyze what happened, why it happened, how to do things differently next time.
That's it. And when you create that kind of culture where mistakes are seen as learning opportunities,
rather than failures.
exactly, you foster a sense of psychological safety.
Which is so important for innovation and growth.
Yeah.
People need to feel comfortable taking risks, experimenting, and knowing they won't be penalized for every misstep.
That's the key, and that psychological safety allows for more open and honest communication, which is essential for addressing those inevitable conflicts that arise in any team.
This all sounds incredibly valuable.
Yeah.
But I know what our listener is thinking. Right now, they're picturing their own team, their own unique challenges, and wondering, will this actually work for me?
Right. Will this work for me and my team?
To bring this to life, you mentioned earlier a really compelling case study.
Oh, yes. The story of a leader brought in to head a team that was, to put it mildly, struggling.
Okay.
Morale was low, deadlines were being missed.
And there was a palpable sense of tension in the air. So a real trial by fire for this leader.
You could say that.
They were walking into a situation where Watkins and DOIT would be put to the ultimate
It's
test.
high stakes.
What happened? How did they even begin to approach such a challenge?
Instead of coming in with a heavy hand making sweeping changes, they started by simply observing and listening.
Remembering that discover phase we talked about.
Yes, exactly. This leader really embodied that principle.
Okay,
They
okay.
spent time getting to know the team, understanding their concerns.
And identifying the root causes of the problems they were facing.
That's it. So they resisted that urge to jump in and fix everything right away.
Okay.
Instead, they took a step back to really understand the dynamics at play.
And what did they discover?
Well, what they found was that the team's struggles weren't simply due to a lack of skills or motivation.
Okay.
It was a lack of clarity, a missing shared vision, and a feeling that no one was truly listening to them.
It sounds like a classic case of a team that had lost its way, maybe even lost its sense of purpose. So how did this leader start to turn things around? Did they dive straight into the DOIT model?
They did, but they started by focusing on those quick wins that Watkins talks about.
Right.
They knew that to build trust and momentum, they needed to demonstrate some early successes.
But those wins had to be meaningful and aligned with the team's overall goal.
Not just ticking boxes, but making a real difference.
So what kind of quick wins did they target? Give our listeners some concrete examples.
One of the first things they tackled was a communication breakdown that had been plaguing the team for months.
Okay.
Information was siloed, leading to confusion, missed deadlines, a lot of frustration.
I could see how that would impact morale. It's hard to feel motivated when you're constantly in the dark.
Exactly. So they implemented a new project management system
Okay.
that provided transparency and kept everyone on the same page.
Relatively simple solution, but probably a huge impact on the team's efficiency and their sense of control.
Night and day difference.
That's a great example of how a small change can have ripple effects.
Mm,
But tackling communication is just one piece of the puzzle.
right.
What other areas did this leader focus on?
They recognized that some team members felt stuck lacking the skills and opportunities they needed to advance in their careers.
So they implemented a mentorship program, allocated budget for training and certifications. That's smart. It shows that the leader is invested in the team's long-term growth, not just their immediate output.
That's right. And it beautifully illustrates how the DOIT model can be applied on multiple levels.
It's not just about transforming processes. It's about empowering individuals and creating a culture of continuous learning. So these quick wins, combined with that focus on individual growth, started to shift the team's dynamic.
They did. It started to build momentum.
But I'm guessing it wasn't all smooth sailing. Was there any resistance to these changes?
Of course, change is never easy, and there will always be some pushback.
Right.
But this leader was prepared for that. They understood that building a truly high-performing team takes time, patience, and consistent effort.
And probably a good dose of empathy, right?
Absolutely essential.
Yeah.
They used their observation skills to identify those areas of resistance
Okay.
and address them with open communication and a genuine desire to understand the team's concerns.
So it wasn't about forcing people to comply. It was about bringing them along on the journey and making sure everyone felt heard and valued. But we've talked a lot about Watkins and DOIT separately. How did this leader actually weave them together in their approach?
They used Watkins' framework to set clear priorities and establish that strategic roadmap for those first 90 days.
Okay.
But they then used the DOIT model to bore the team along on that journey, making sure everyone felt involved and invested in the process.
So Watkins provided the structure, and DOIT provided the heart, so to speak.
I like that, a good way to put it.
But there's one piece missing from this story.
Yeah.
Those DOIT team workshops and the Asserter Change Management Certification. Where do those fit in?
They actually played a crucial role in solidifying the team's progress and ensuring that the changes they made were sustainable.
Okay.
The workshops provided a shared learning experience that reinforced the principles of Watkins and DOIT in a very practical and engaging way.
So it's like taking that theoretical knowledge and turning it into actionable skills that the whole team can use.
Exactly. And the Asserter Change Management Certification provided tangible recognition of the team's newfound expertise.
Which further boosted their confidence and motivation.
Yes, definitely.
It sounds like those workshops were a real turning point for the team.
A shared experience that really brought them together.
But I'm also curious about the long-term impact of this leader's approach. Do those initial successes translate into lasting change?
That's where the story gets even more interesting and where we'll pick up in part 3 of our deep dive.
Stay tuned. Welcome back. We're wrapping up our deep dive into not just surviving, but thriving in those first 90 days. As a new leader, we've been unpacking Watkins, the DOIT model, and saw how they played out in a real-world case study where a leader turned a struggling team around.
A real turnaround story.
But the question on everyone's mind is, did it stick?
That's the key, isn't it? Short-term wins are great, but what our listener really wants is to create lasting positive change. And the answer, based on the source material, is that this leader did exactly that.
So it wasn't a case of fix it and forget it.
Not at all. They were incredibly intentional about making those changes stick.
How did they go from those quick wins to a lasting culture shift? That's what I'm sure everyone listening wants to know.
One of the most powerful things they did was turn everyday challenges into learning opportunities. Remember how DOIT emphasizes observe. This leader took it a step further.
They didn't just observe the team themselves. They encouraged the entire team to observe their own processes, analyze what worked, what didn't, and how to constantly improve.
You got it. They baked continuous improvement into the team's DNA.
So no matter what comes up, there's a built-in mechanism for reflection and adjustment.
Exactly. And this wasn't about blame or finger pointing. The leader fostered an environment where people felt safe to admit mistakes.
And learn from them.
Precisely that psychological safety we talked about earlier played a huge role in making this sustainable.
It makes sense. If people are terrified of being punished for every little error, they're going to be less likely to speak up or try new things.
Yeah.
But in this team, it sounds like experimentation and learning were encouraged.
Absolutely. And that's what fueled their growth. The leader understood that to truly empower a team, you need to give them the space to make mistakes, learn from those experiences, and come back stronger.
The source material mentioned something about regular retrospective meetings. Was that part of this continuous learning process?
Those meetings were key. They weren't just about reviewing what happened,
Right.
but about understanding why things happened the way they did.
What processes worked? Where were the bottlenecks? What
Mhm.
could they do differently next time? It was about turning reflection into action.
Exactly, a feedback loop built into everything they did, always looking for ways to optimize and improve.
I imagine that takes discipline, especially when you're busy hitting deadlines and moving on to the next project.
It does, and that's what sets this leader and the teams they built apart. They understood that true success isn't about hitting a target and forgetting about it. It's about constantly striving for better, always learning and evolving as a team.
So this leader walks into a struggling team, turns things around, and creates a culture of continuous learning. Sounds like a happy ending, but was there any impact beyond this one team?
That's the beauty of it. Their success became contagious. Other teams started noticing the positive changes, the increased productivity, the high morale. It became a model for the entire organization.
A ripple effect.
Exactly. And this leader, instead of keeping their methods secret, actively shared their best practices with others within the organization.
Okay.
They became a champion for the DOIT model, demonstrating its effectiveness through their team's success.
True leadership in action, not just achieving results, but also inspiring others to do the same.
That's the goal.
And it all started with those crucial first 90 days.
The foundation for everything that followed.
Okay, so let's bring it home for our listener who's about to step into their own leadership role.
Right. What's the key takeaway from all of this?
What can they do to make their own first 90 days just as impactful?
I think the biggest takeaway is to see those first 90 days as an opportunity, not just a trial. It's a chance to lay the foundation for something truly special.
Right.
A team that thrives on collaboration, continuous learning, and shared success. And remember, you don't have to go it alone.
Watkins gives you that strategic framework. DOIT brings in the human element, and those in-house workshops equip you with the practical skills to make it all happen.
A powerful combination.
And if this leader's story has taught us anything, it's that combining structure with empathy can create a powerful force for positive change.
Well said.
So as you embark on this new journey, remember the power of those first 90 days. Embrace the challenge, set clear priorities, empower your team, and never stop learning and growing together, because those initial steps can set the stage for years of success and fulfillment.
Couldn't have said it better myself.
Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into mastering those crucial first 90 days. We'll be back next time with another fascinating topic to help you navigate the ever-evolving world of leadership.
Until then, good luck out there.
Until then, keep leading with intention and keep making those first 90 days count.